we are now talking about the Demon Slayer movie. Spoiler alert for anybody that is a Demon Slayer fan. If you have not seen the movie yet, if you plan on going to see the movie, but you don't want to be spoiled by anything, this is now your opportunity to either mute the stream, step away, do whatever you got to do. But if you step away, make sure you come back. But I am going to try to go, or I am going to kind of go into full spoilers with it. And you actually may have a little bit more time because I'm probably going to talk about like my overall arching thought of the actual movie before we actually go into like some of like the spoilery stuff or whatever. Yeah, so like to kick things off, I was telling Quad and Celinda and Mitch this when we left, and it's really funny because I personally have been an anime fan for a very long time, for pretty much about as long as I can remember. I for a long time I would say I'm just I wouldn't say I'm an anime fan. I'd say I'm a Dragon Ball fan because that's all I really watched back in the day. But as I've kind of gotten older, I've obviously watched more animes, been impressed by more things, and et cetera, et cetera. I say that to say this: traditionally, anime movies usually don't tie into the source material at all. A great example is all the Dragon Ball movies. So all the Dragon Ball Z movies. You've got, for example, like you got Lord Slug, which takes place. You can like roughly estimate where they kind of take place, with the exception of maybe what is it? Maybe the not Tree of Might, but Garlic Jr. Maybe with the exception of the Garlic Jr. saga. But for the most part, you can kind of put you can roughly put them in there, but you can't ever directly put them in there. And then on top of that, the main story never really references them. So, going into this movie, those were the kind of expectations that I had. I knew that it was going to be canon, but I didn't expect it to. I knew it was going to be canon, but I didn't expect like high stakes. Because most of the time, the like I said, the anime movies don't have high stakes. And so going into this movie, I wasn't expecting anything major to happen. And then, we get the shit that happens. And it was a really funny moment because, we're sitting there, we're watching the movie, and about a third of the way through the movie, maybe 2/3 of the way through the movie, or halfway through the movie, we're sitting there and Tanjiro comes in. He manages to kill the Mugen train, like the not the main demon or whatever, not the main like train demon or whatever, but like the demon that's on the train, the main demon that they're going to find, that they're going to hunt. He kills that demon, right? And after he kills him, I looked over at Mitch because me and Mitch were sitting next to each other, and I was like, "Bro, that was fast." And he was like, yeah. And Mitch looked at his watch, and then he went and looked it up real quick. He's like, man, we still have like 45 minutes left of this movie. And I was like, for real? And he's like, yeah, we like 45 minutes left. I was like, oh shit, okay. And then, something happens and like it gives you a reason to continue the plot or whatever. And so I'm just gonna get to it. So the demon, then turns into like, it's kind of obvious what he's doing or whatever. He turns from demon, he then turns into like the whole, like turns the demon, like the train, into an actual like demon himself or whatever. He like merges with the train. And so then they have to go through the whole thing where they like, stop the demon, like cut the demon, like figure out where the demon's head is, cut the demon's head off or whatever. And after they cut his head off or whatever, after they cut its head off, it finishes, it kind of like wraps up the train, kind of like falls off the rails or whatever. And I'm sitting there, I was like, oh man, okay, that makes sense. There you go. Now this is the ending. This is going to wrap up the movie. This is everything. And then Mitch, he looked at me again. He's like, Mike, I was like, what, man? He's like, we still have 21 minutes left in this movie. And I was like, 21 minutes left? Motherfucker, that's still enough time for an entire like anime episode. He's like, yeah. And then like shit hits the fan right here this last 20 minute 21 minutes or so or whatever. And I want to personally I want to talk about spoilers, but I know I said I was going to talk about spoilers, but at the same time I don't really want to spoil too much for it because I feel like you should still kind of like experience some of it, like some of the stuff should be surprising or whatever. I want to talk a little bit about so that's that. I thought it was funny. So like that movie, so I say that to say that after that 21 minutes happens, something major happens right there at the end, and it's like, holy fuck. Like after that major point happens, the movie just ends. And I was like, fuck, like that's the end of the movie. That's it. Like, because normally, you know, like they like normally with traditionally with movies in like your third act or your final act or whatever, you know, you come to the climax of the fight or whatever. You finish the fight. After you finish the fight, then all the heroes and everybody, then they start putting their stuff, like they start like preparing for like the next portion of whatever they're going to go into. And start preparing for the next portion of whatever they're going to get into, and to start talking about like whether like the end of the story. So it's kind of like wraps everything, puts a nice little bow on it. But with this movie, it just ended. Like it got to an end. The stuff happened, like a major, like, you know, it happened or whatever. After it happened, you know, the characters do what they got to do, and then like it's over, like the movie is over or whatever. And then after the movie wraps up, the credits roll, and it's like, oh, okay, that's strange. So I say that to say, to get back to my original point about movies having, like, these kind of movies having stakes or whatever. I don't think I can watch I don't think I can watch anime movies anymore that don't tie into the source material. I don't think I can do it. Just because, like, this, like the stakes that were in this movie, like, it made me realize that, like, the stuff that happens at the end of the movie made me realize that, like, I like my movies with like legitimate stakes, and I like them to like legitimately mean something at the end of all this. I don't want this like 2 hour and however long, you know, adventure to feel like it's just a nothing, like it's pointless. You know what I mean? And so like I was talking to Mitch about it, and I was saying that, like, you know, it's fascinating. Like it's a great feeling knowing that, like, this and, you know, Dragon Ball Super Broly, you know, are two examples of like movies that like are two examples of movies that are, you know, connected into like the actual canon that actually means something. So it's not like I like the fact that we're kind of slowly starting to get onto this to this train. Talk about characters real quick. I thought Rengoku, who is the fire Hashira in the movie, I thought his story, like finding out his story and his backstory and everything, I thought he was a fantastically developed character. I love him dearly. Like he is a fantastic character. I think like the techniques and like the one thing that was really dope about this movie, that I liked that I kind of like about Demon Slayer in general, is that they, or from here on out anyway with Demon Slayer in general or whatever, is that they're really like, they're setting up the power structure, I think, very well, because the difference, and this is where kind of spoilers happen, an upper rank demon shows up. So one of the uppers show up at the end of the movie. That was the major thing that happens or whatever. And so getting to see the power, and even like before then, like looking at how the difference between a lower ranked demon and a Hashira, like we've seen it before with I forget his name all the time. Tanjiro's, not Sensei, but Tanjiro's like the guy that told Tanjiro who to go talk to his water master guy or whatever. I forget their names. But I love the fact, we've seen it before with like stuff like that when he came up and fought Ryu, not Ryu, what's the spider guy's name? I want to say Ryu, but I don't think it's, we're just gonna say Ryu. I don't remember what his name is. Rui. When he comes in and he fights Rui, and he pretty much just murks Rui with like one shot. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't even, it's not even a try. Like it's not even like a fight. But getting to see like the gap that Tanjiro and the others are going to have to go through to get to Hashira rank was awesome, dude. Yeah, it was awesome. It's awesome getting to see the Hashira in an upper rank demon fight, like that, like, and then the animation style for the movie, like the animation for the movie by itself was just fantastic. Like I don't know, the movie was great. The movie was great. Stakes were great. The story was fantastic. I loved Rengoku. I love Rengoku. I liked the demon that they got to the upper demon that they got to fight. You know, I didn't care too much. Like the main actual like Mugen train like story, I don't care for. I think it was a good idea for them to turn this into a movie as opposed to having it be an actual. And we talked about, you know, I talked about this with Celinda and Quad outside, and Mitch outside or whatever of the movie. I think this movie worked. I think this movie is so successful because the story, or not the movie so successful, excuse me. I think, I'm trying to think of how to explain this. I don't really know how to explain this. This movie or this story works better as a movie than it would as an anime. Because so essentially what happens is, and this is essentially what happens is when they first get onto the train, they run into like this really low rank demon, like a basic demon or whatever. Rengoku kills the demon, and then the next thing you know, they blink and everybody's asleep. And so what happened if you remember that at the end of the first season, the one like lower ranked demon left, he got some more powers or whatever. So he's the one that's on the train. He puts everybody to sleep on the train. And so everybody's asleep and they're in, like, he makes like these fantasy worlds so that way he can take advantage of them in the real world and like, kill them or whatever and all that kind of stuff or whatever. And so he puts them all to sleep. And after he puts them all to sleep, everybody, of course, then has their own like, individual dreams that they kind of, that they dive into and they go into. The reason why I think this works so well, the point of this conversation, the reason why I think that this story works better as a movie as opposed to a story is because each one of the dream sequences were short, sweet, and to the point. You know what I mean? If it was an anime, we would have gotten, an episode where like they first get into the dream. After you go into the dream, you spend like one whole episode inside the dream, and then after you spend one whole episode inside the dream, you then have to worry about how to get out of the dream, and then like all of that stuff would have been like, it just would have felt like it was expanded and it didn't need to be expanded. You know what I mean? As a movie, because you are on a time limit, it's all short, sweet, and to the point. And so they got in there, you saw what happened. Tanjiro figured out how to get out of the dream. You know what I mean? And so like it worked perfectly. I think as an actual manga, or not manga, as an actual anime show arc, this would have been like a horrible season. And it would have been like a really annoying, not horrible season. It would have been a really, really annoying season. The fights may have looked cooler, which I don't think so, because the production quality is usually higher on movies than it is on the shows. So, but there is always that possibility. You never really know. But no, that movie was fantastic. That movie was fantastic, start to finish. Loved it. 10 out of 10. Would recommend to go see it. I'm definitely going to buy it when it comes out to Blu-ray and digital services. So like that's actually one that I really want. I personally want to own because I liked the story, I like the build-up story of Rengoku's character. I like how they build his backstory and everything. And it's the birth of the fire, or not the birth of the fire Hashira, but it's like the introduction to the fire Hashira. So it's like, if y'all know me, I'm basic as a bitch and I love anything fire related. So like fire heroes, fire like powers. I love it. I want it all. That's my shit. But that's Demon Slayer.